Hey everybody, this is Mr. Justin. I'm coming to talk about the Bible verse for the week. This one comes out of 1 Kings chapter 17, and it's about Elijah and going to another city and being cared for by a widow with a child. And to put it shortly, basically God tells Elijah to go to this other city, and there's a widow that's going to take care of him. And when he meets this widow, he asks her to bring him some water and bread. Her response is, um, we're only gathering some sticks and preparing food so that we can eat our last meal. And Elijah said, don't be afraid, um, and go and do what you said, but first make me some bread, and then you can go make what you need to make for your son and yourself. And he told her that God said there will be an abundance of oil and an abundance of flour, so that they won't run out until there's rain on the land. Um, and so there was a drought in this time, or a famine, as the Bible calls it, that makes it where food and crop are not that easy to come by in this time. So this is probably not the easiest thing to hear. This is probably something that, um, almost like that woman's looking at Elijah like, "Are you crazy? I mean, this is our last bit of food." Um, so this was a huge thing for Elijah to ask. But the woman did it. Why did the woman do it? I think it's because she knew that this was a man of God. He had demonstrated himself to be a dependable man of God, someone that was communicating messages from God and just seemed all around like a godly person. And she did this. She made the bread for him, then made the bread for her and her son. And what happened was the oil and the flour and everything they needed for the bread was just in abundance until the rain actually came one day. And so I think this story tells us something very important about the way we are with God. Sometimes God does miracles like this in our lives to, show how amazing he really is. And it's, these times when it seems impossible that anything could work out. In this situation, for example, there's nothing that would have seemed like, oh well, if we make the bread for this stranger, we're gonna be out of food for ourselves. And she did that anyway, and God was able to take that act of faith and multiply so much abundance for her and her child. And I think that says a lot about what we can do as believers today. We've got to have a faith in God that he will do what he promises. He will do what he says he's going to do, and he will bless us for being faithful to him. Um, and I believe that miracles can and do still happen. And I've been a witness of people that have been prayed for example, for people that have been praying for healing, and not just like they reported it a day later. I mean, it was instant. They, they had back pain and instantly were healed. And not that that's always how it happens, because God doesn't operate the same exact way every time. But my point is that God still does miracles, even either large miracles like instant healing, or even just small miracles, like keeping you safe, when you're walking to school or something. I mean, simple things like that. And I think that sometimes we think of these miracles as being these big, giant, like, events, but at the same time, they could be smaller events too. The thing I think that defines a miracle is something that seems impossible, something that seems like it could never happen, but it happens anyway. And that may seem like a grand event. Like, it always has to be a healing or something. I think healing is what we associate miracles with. It's not always what miracles are. Miracles can be, an alignment of people. I mean, I know one of the miracles that I've witnessed in my life is having a situation where I was being asked by someone to do a task or run a program and be able to head this thing up, and then God, put the right people in my path at the exact moment I needed them. And while that may seem like a small thing, I think that was a miracle, because it didn't seem like it was possible for me to pick something up from nothing and make it work. And um, talking about the children's program that I was running at the time, and yet it happened, and there was blessing, and there was growth, and there was just so much to be said that God's hand was in it. And I think that that's my evidence that I believe miracles still happen. And whether they're in big ways or small ways, I think we can still believe in miracles, and we just have to have the faith. We have to have that faith that God is who he says he is and can do what he says he's going to do. And so as you go through your week this week, we're going through a week of Thanksgiving, and most of us probably have the week off of school, so we have a lot of time to think about this. If we just take our 2 discussion questions for the week and think, do you think miracles still happen? And have you ever experienced a miracle? And think about that definition of miracle that I used, that something that maybe seemed impossible, but then happened anyway. Something that may have seemed very unlikely, and yet it happened anyway. So thanks for listening this week, you guys. Have a great week. Happy Thanksgiving, and we'll see you guys next time.